The claimant has consistently denied the allegations against him. The employer failed to meet its burden to establish misconduct by the preponderance of the evidence. I also would not agree to a rehearing because the employer had the opportunity to provide credible firsthand evidence at the AT hearing, but chose not to do so. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Demerson.
Case number 3019973, Commissioner Alvarez.
The decision is not supportable. The industry in which the claimant works saw a decline due to the pandemic. The claimant was laid off as a result. As such, the claimant should be eligible for PUA. Reverse the AT, PUA eligible.
The AT decision is not supportable. The most reliable evidence in the record concerning the reasons for the work separation is the copy of the layoff notice that was emailed to the claimant on January 29, 2021, just before the claimant's first attempt to file an unemployment claim. That notice, which was written by the claimant's manager, stated, "It is with regret that I inform you that due to the circumstances of COVID-19, the employer will have to lay you off. With everything shut down, you will not be able to market to prospective customers to generate business." The employer two-worded response to the claimant's regular UI claim, i.e. branch termination, does not contradict the layoff notice and is consistent with the claimant's testimony that the industry for a while came to a halt, as did everything. So there was no longer any need for her marketing services. Those dots are easy to connect. The claimant's work separation was clearly due to the effect of the pandemic in early 2021. The only real question is exactly when the dates of the PUA eligibility should be for the claimant. She first filed a regular UI claim, which was denied due to insufficient base period wage credits. So her claim was converted to a PUA claim. And based on the dates of payment, that claim was apparently backdated. Her PUA claim activity seems to have ceased once she filed a second regular UI claim with an effective date of April 4th, 2021. Accordingly, we should reverse the AT decision. The claimant was eligible for PUA benefits and send a memo to UIA and OS to review and verify the starting and ending dates of her PUA eligibility.
Affirm the AT, PUA not eligible beginning March 14th, 2021.
We have a majority vote that.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. And we will send the memo, Commissioner Demerson.
Case number 3028513, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision is not supportable. On the final incident, the claimant misplaced a few checks for one day and found them on the next day in an accordion file, which is where they were supposed to be. She apologized for temporarily misplacing them, and there was no harm to the employer. The claimant had no prior warnings. The claimant's actions clearly did not rise to the level of misconduct. It would appear that the employer actually fired her because they heard she had said she wanted to be fired and go on unemployment. The claimant has consistently denied making such a statement. The coworker to whom the statement was allegedly made has never been identified, and the employer did not appear at the AT hearing to dispute her testimony. The evidence failed to establish any misconduct by the claimant. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was terminated when she failed to exercise due care by misplacing certain incoming checks for the employer. The claimant had acknowledged losing track of the employer's checks and had received prior warnings for performance deficiencies. Since the claimant was previously warned by the employer about issues related to her performance and thereafter failed to practice due care in properly handling the employer's checks, the claimant's conduct constituted misconduct connected with the work. Hence, we should affirm the appeal tribunal decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Demerson.
Case number 3031768, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be modified. The claimant was fired for unsatisfactory performance. It appears that she previously performed acceptably. However, she has provided substantial evidence, including medical documentation, that her performance deteriorated as a result of a major depression disorder and anxiety disorder. The employer even appears to agree that the claimant's performance was a result of her condition. Since the claimant has established a medically verified condition that led to her discharge, she should not be disqualified, and the employer's account should be protected from chargeback. Modify the AT, no misconduct, no chargeback due to MBI.
I agree with that. We should modify the appeal tribunal decision since the available record in conjunction with the claimant's firsthand testimony dictate that the claimant's separation arose from her diagnosed medical condition. The claimant should be qualified for benefits and the employer's account should be protected from charge based on a medically verifiable illness. Therefore, we should modify the AT decision, no misconduct, no chargeback, MBI.
Modify the AT, no misconduct, no chargeback, MBI.
Thank you. We have a unanimous decision.
Case number 3040048. Commissioner Alvarez,
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant reported to his supervisor on September 14, 2021, that he needed to be out due to a family emergency on the following 2 days. His supervisor said, okay. Later, on September 14, 2021, the employer texted the claimant's wife and his wife's responded on the same day that the claimant was safe and that the claimant had poor cell phone reception at his location. On March 9th, on September 17th, 2021, the claimant returned to work. The HR department contacted the claimant and discharged him because they considered his 2 absences as job abandonment. The employer did not appear at the hearing to refute the claimant's credible and persuasive firsthand testimony. The preponderance of the evidence therefore established that the claimant did not abandon his job and had permission from his supervisor to be off from work. He was therefore discharged for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was absent from work without prior notice to the employer. When the claimant's wife finally reached out to the employer, it was after 9 p.m. of the claimant's first day absent. Although the claimant's wife notified the employer of the claimant's need for emergency leave, she did not provide an explanation. Furthermore, text messages indicate that this leave was not approved. Thus, because the claimant was absent without explanation for almost a week and he did not call in as required by the employer's policy, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
Affirm the AT, misconduct, no chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Alvarez.
case number 3044465. Commissioner Dimerson,
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. First, I do not contest the validity of claim issue. Concerning the job separation, the claimant quit because he was dissatisfied with the employer's working conditions. When the employer made a request for the claimant to complete a work-related task, the claimant became aggressive and began acting inappropriately towards the employer. The next day, when the employer attempted to communicate with the claimant about the incident, the claimant was again upset and thereafter walked off the job. Hence, the claimant quit without work-connected good cause. We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. Valid claim, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response. In the alternative, I will also agree to a vote of misconduct. Although multiple witnesses testified that the claimant quit, the claimant alleged he was fired after a confrontational verbal interaction with the employer. The claimant was aware of the employer's policy, which prohibited physical violence, verbal abuse, and inappropriate behavior at the workplace. Claimant's heated and aggressive interaction with the employer violated the employer's policy. So we should modify the AT decision, valid claim, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The AT decision should be affirmed. A manager confronted the claimant because the claimant made comments indicating that he was not happy that he had to redo a coworker's work. In the confrontation, the manager blew cigarette smoke in the claimant's face. When the claimant complained about it, he was sent home for the day. In a discussion on the following day about the incident, the claimant raised complaints about being around cigarette smoke and asked to be moved to an area of non-smoking employees. The manager responded that if he had a problem with it, he should go get his final paycheck. When the claimant tried to clarify if he had been fired, management told him whatever. The claimant was thereby discharged and the claimant's actions did not rise to the level of misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, valid claim, no misconduct, chargeback.
Modify the AT, valid claim, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Alvarez.
case number 3045. Case number 3045525, Commissioner Alvarez.
The decision is not supportable. The claimant stopped working when he went on approved leave after he was informed his spouse was dealing with the serious health complications. Per the employer's policy, his position would only be held for 30 days. Due to quarantine requirements for the island, the claimant was not able to return during the protected period. As such, the claimant's separation was due to a pandemic. The claimant should be approved for benefits and the employer's account protected from charge. Modify the AT, no voluntary leaving, no chargeback disaster. In the alternative, as the circumstances regarding the separation were not well developed and no attempt was made to secure medical documentation after the claimant stated he had no documentation, that he had documentation, I would agree to a rehearing.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The separation occurred when the claimant stopped performing services for pay due to a personal reason, his spouse's illness. While this is a very compelling reason for leaving his work, it is not personal, it is personal, not work-related, and not considered good cause connected with the work for quitting. We should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback. I'd also be open to a rehearing this case to provide the claimant an opportunity to present medical documentation required by statute under section 207.046A3, which would qualify the claimant if he left work to care for his terminally ill spouse.
Rehear.
We'll rehear the case.
Case number 3046366, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was hired as a supervisor, but his duties were not satisfactory duties, supervisory duties, I should say, as stated in the position job description. The claimant supervisor told the claimant that his ideas did not make sense or were just dumb and yelled at employees. The claimant asked his supervisor to act in a professional manner and later overheard him discussing their confidential conversation with two other employees. The claimant complained to the HR director regarding his supervisor's behavior and the effect of stress that he was having on his health, In response, the HR director advised the claimant to resign because the situation with his supervisor was probably just going to get worse, and that his supervisor had not been prepared for the claimant's hiring. The employer took no steps to help the claimant resolve his legitimate complaints and advised the claimant to resign. The claimant made a good faith effort to resolve his complaints prior to resigning and quit with good cause connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no voluntary leaving.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant quit over dissatisfaction with his working conditions. However, rather than escalating his concerns prior to quitting, he resigned on the same day that he initially complained to HR. Thus, the claimant did not provide the employer an adequate opportunity to remedy the situation. In addition, although the claimant alleges that the situation at work was affecting his health, no medical provider advised the claimant to quit. Thus, the claimant did not establish good cause connected with the work for quitting. We should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving.
Affirm the AT, voluntary leaving.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 3048186, Commissioner Dimerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. The claimant acknowledged that she was aware her job was in jeopardy if her tardiness continued. Nonetheless, the employer stated that the claimant was tardy on the day of the final incident. The claimant disputed the final tardy by alleging that her schedule had changed. However, an employer witness that emailed employee work schedules and posted them at the employer's business stated that the claimant's schedule never changed. Since the AT was in the best position to gauge the credibility of the parties in this case, its ruling should not be disturbed. We should therefore modify the AT decision, misconduct, reimburse an employer not billed, sever adequate response. In the alternative, I would also support a vote for rehearing in this case to allow the employer the opportunity to submit the claimant's schedule for the day of the final tardy.
The decision should be reversed. The employer alleged that the claimant was tardy. However, the claimant consistently and credibly maintained that she was not tardy. The claimant further explained that the schedule was changed at times without any notice to her. The employer did not provide the claimant's schedule or other evidence to support their allegation that she was tardy. As such, the employer did not overcome the claimant's firsthand testimony. Reverse AT, no misconduct, bill employer, and void adequate response.
Reverse the AT, no misconduct, bill reimburse the employer, void adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Jamerson. And that was the last unemployment insurance case pulled for discussion on docket 8. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 8.
I second the motion, except for those cases of which I'm dissenting as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected in the UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you. Proceeding to docket 9.
Case number 2611423, Commissioner Alvarez.
The claimant's appeal states that she had not received any correspondence. Additionally, the claimant appears to be making an allegation of TWC misinformation. This case should be reheard to address timeliness. Rehear.
Claimant's appeal was filed beyond the applicable deadline to do so and is therefore late. There are no good cause exceptions to the timeliness rules. Accordingly, we should dismiss the claimant's appeal as late and leave the underlying decision in full force and effect. Voluntary leaving, no chargeback.
Rehear to determine whether the claimant received the AT decision.
We will rehear the case.
Case number 2626622, Commissioner Dimerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. First, I agree that the employer had good cause for its non-appearance. As to the job separation, the employer presented statements from 2 employees that detailed the claimant's vulgar actions. In addition, the employer stated that it terminated the claimant after a thorough investigation. Moreover, the statements from both witnesses were consistent and indicated that the claimant told the witnesses to be quiet about the incident. As such, the claimant's actions constituted work-connected misconduct. We should therefore modify the AT decision. The employer had good cause for its non-appearance, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response.
The decision is correct. The claimant was the only party to provide firsthand testimony. Despite being provided with an additional opportunity to provide firsthand witnesses, the employer declined to do so. The claimant has denied under oath the employer's allegations. In accordance with commission precedents, the claimant should be entitled to benefits. Affirm the AT good cause, no misconduct, bill employer.
Affirm the AT employer established good cause for AT1, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Dimerson.
Case number 2776720, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be reversed. The employer initially offered the claimant a position as a teacher earning $54,000 a year. When the employer missed the deadline for hiring the claimant, they basically hired her as a teacher assistant that paid half the salary of a teacher and made her perform the same duties as a teacher. The claimant complained about the situation and then quit when she learned that it was not going to change in the foreseeable future. The employer misrepresented the position and she was hired for, and the claimant had good cause connected with the work to quit. Reverse the AT, no voluntary leaving, void reimbursement ruling.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. The claimant quit due to dissatisfaction with her pay and job duties. However, both parties stated that the claimant's pay and hours were never reduced. As to the claimant's job duties, the preponderance of the evidence establishes that the claimant was not being asked to perform job duties outside of the scope of her position of employment. As such, the claimant quit without work-connected good cause. We should therefore modify the AT decision, voluntary leaving, void the no reimbursement ruling.
Modify the AT voluntary leaving, void reimbursement ruling.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 2786936, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should affirm the appeal tribunal decision. Concerning good cause, the claimant missed the AT1 hearing and alleged he was mistaken about the time zone. He stated his research concluded that he lived in a time zone which was different than the time zone for the hearing. However, the claimant's residence was in the central time zone, and the hearing notice reflected that the hearing was held in the same time zone. Special instructions on the hearing notice regarding a different time zone for parties living in or near El Paso did not apply to the claimant. Because the claimant's alleged confusion over the time zone was not reasonable, the claimant did not establish good cause for missing the AT1 hearing. Concerning the job separation, the records record dictates that the claimant affirmatively provided his intent to resign. As such, we should affirm the AT decision. The claimant did not have good cause for missing the AT1 hearing, voluntary leaving.
The decision should be reversed. The claimant's non-appearance was caused by his confusion with the time zone differences. Therefore, in accordance with commission precedent, the claimant established good cause. Regarding the job separation, when questioned by the employer, the claimant admitted that he was looking for another job, or correction, another work, which caused the employer to fire him. The claimant's actions were not misconduct. Therefore, the claimant should be qualified for benefits. Reverse the AT, claimant had good cause, no misconduct. In the alternative, even without good cause, the available evidence does not support disqualification. The employer discharged the claimant when he admitted that he was looking for another job. Therefore, the employer initiated the separation and has not shown misconduct. Modify the AT, no good cause, no misconduct.
Reverse the AT, claim established good cause for AT1, no misconduct.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Dimerson.
Case number 2800122, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision is not supportable. The underlying issue in this case is whether the claimant worked customary full-time hours. This case involves the issue of validity of claim and therefore falls within the exception to the timeliness rules in Rule 32I1. The claimant's AT appeal should be deemed timely and the case remanded to the AT to take merits testimony.
Agree. The underlying issue to the timeliness case is that of customary full-time hours. Since the issue of customary full-time hours can be interpreted as a validity of claim issue, it represents a one-time exception to the timeliness rules. As such, we should find that the claimant filed a timely appeal and remand the case to the appeal tribunal for merits testimony.
Reverse the AT, timely claimant appeal remand.
We have a unanimous decision. Thank you.
Case number 2808747, Commissioner Dimerson.
The appeal tribunal decision is supportable and should be affirmed. The claimant was given the opportunity to be put on a performance improvement plan or take a severance package. The claimant chose the latter. The employer never told the claimant he was fired and stated that continued work was available. As such, the claimant quit for the personal reason of securing a severance package and without work-connected good cause. We should therefore affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, overpayment of $505.
The decision is not correct. The claimant was effectively discharged when he was given the option of accepting a performance improvement plan, the requirements of which he could not achieve, or take a severance. The claimant has not been able to satisfy the employer's requirements, and due to complications from the pandemic, was unlikely to be able to do so. Reverse AT, no misconduct, chargeback, reverse overpayment.
Affirm the AT, voluntary leaving, no chargeback, overpayment.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 3033514, Commissioner Dimerson.
The commission should grant a rehearing in this case. The claimant was terminated for violating the employer's policy on proper workplace conduct. In its appeal to the commission, the employer provided evidence that its policy prohibited offensive behavior and conduct which disrupted business activities. The employer also testified that it had video footage of the final incident leading to the claimant's separation. As the employer's policy and video evidence of the final incident could be dispositive of the claimant's inappropriate behavior, we should rehear this case to admit the employer's policy and the video evidence of the final incident leading to the claimant's separation.
The decision is supportable. The employer discharged the claimant for allegedly being rude to, chasing after, and yelling at a customer. The employer has provided no firsthand testimony to support of their allegations, while the claimant has denied the allegations under oath. In accordance with commission precedent, the claimant should be approved for benefits. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback, no overpayment.
Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback, no overpayment.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Dimerson.
Case number 3047213, Commissioner Alvarez.
The decision should be reversed. The claimant was discharged for entering an unoccupied office. However, as a longtime security guard, it was not unreasonable for the claimant to check an unoccupied space that had been left unlocked. The claimant was never told not to enter the empty office, and there was no employer policy on this issue. As such, the employer has not shown misconduct. Reverse AT, no misconduct, chargeback, set aside adequate response.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant entered an office space that was neither authorized nor required to enter. Although the claimant testified that he entered the space for security reasons, this testimony is not credible. In two different fact-finding statements, the claimant told TWC that he entered the space multiple times to check it out for his brother, who was looking for office space to rent. These previous statements cast serious doubts on the claimant's testimony. Thus, because the preponderance of the credible evidence supports the conclusion that the claimant repeatedly entered an office without authorization, and he had been warned for taking unauthorized breaks, he mismanaged his position of employment. Accordingly, we should modify the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, sever the adequate response issue.
Modify the AT, misconduct, no chargeback, sever adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez.
Case number 3050199, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should modify the AT decision. The claimant was terminated for violating the employer's attendance policy. Although the claimant was discharged for accumulating too many absences, the record shows that her final absence was a result of her medical illness. Since the claimant's separation was a result of a medically verifiable illness, the claimant should be granted benefits and the employer's account should be protected from chargeback. As such, we should modify the AT decision, no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI.
Ms. Miller, I would agree with Commissioner Demerson.
Agreed.
Thank you. We have a unanimous decision.
Case number 3061013, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant was discharged for allegedly being under the influence of alcohol at work. However, the claimant denied being under the influence of any drugs or alcohol while at work and only left early one day because he was extremely tired after receiving a cancer radiation treatment the day before. The employer did not ask the claimant to submit to any drug or alcohol tests. While the employer provided vague testimony about verbal warnings given to the claimant about his performance, the claimant credibly denied receiving these warnings. The employer has not met its burden of showing misconduct. Reverse AT, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was discharged due to decline in work performance. The employer presented two witnesses who testified as to the claimant's concerning demeanor and behavior at work, which indicated that the claimant was impaired. Customers had also brought the claimant's behavior to the employer's attention. Because the claimant's performance deteriorated and his behavior appeared consistent with intoxication while at work, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should modify the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, sever the adequate response issue.
Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Demerson.
Case number 3066952, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant was fired for loading a trailer without securing it. The claimant was not able to secure the trailer because the employer had no devices used to secure the trailer. The employer admitted that they had no trailer locks, but they contended that the claimant should have kept the load in the warehouse if he could not secure the trailer. It is not clear how that would have worked since the load eventually would have to be loaded without a way to secure it. More importantly, the claimant stated that he did not have room in the warehouse to leave the cargo since another load was coming in that had been unloaded, that had to be unloaded. The employer put the claimant in a no-win situation and then fired him when he lost. The claimant's actions did not rise to the level of misconduct. Reverse AT, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response ruling.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. While on a final warning, the claimant left freight unsecured. I understand that the employer did not have the kingpin that would have secured the freight in the trailer, but the claimant could have secured the freight by placing it on the receiving floor. While leaving the freight unsecured after a final warning, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should modify the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, sever the adequate response issue.
Modify the AT, misconduct, no chargeback, sever adequate response.
Ms. Miller, short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez. That was the last unemployment insurance case pulled for discussion on docket 9. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 9.
I move to accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 9.
Chairman, I second the motion, except for those cases of which I'm dissenting as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 9.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting as reflected in the UI short form list for docket 9.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of agenda items 3 through 7. We'll take a short break. ready for the rest of this adventure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're back. Agenda item 8's been postponed to a future meeting. This is agenda item 9. We owe statewide funds for we owe customers and cybersecurity.
Sorry. Commissioners, before you today for your consideration for approval is a discussion paper regarding a one-time distribution of 2.7 million WIOA statewide dollars to the boards to pay for cybersecurity improvements, or if the board does not have a current cybersecurity need, to support additional direct services as Texans continue to return to work. The 2.7 million would be distributed to the boards as indicated in the discussion paper, with the distribution proportional to the board size after a baseline amount of the funding was assigned to every board. Boards will determine whether they can use the money best on cybersecurity strengthening or direct services. Staff recommends distributing 2.7 million of WIOA statewide funding to the boards as shown in the discussion paper to support cybersecurity acceleration and or client service delivery. This concludes my presentation. I'm able to answer any questions you may have.
Comments or questions?
None here, Chairman.
None.
Tell me more about the cybersecurity, like what, any kind of cybersecurity improvements?
This is, to fund any kind of cybersecurity improvements, physical hardware that is needed, cybersecurity consulting, other things like that that are needed to improve the maturity scores.
Have we done a recent assessment with boards on their cybersecurity needs?
We've been doing work with cybersecurity. I don't know if we've done a recent assessment. There is a maturity score.
Mr. Chairman, we
Yes, sir.
have done an assessment that we funded of all the boards. We have a ranking. Of course, that report's protected under state statute because of the nature of the report. But based on that, then we are allocating, we came up with the idea to allocate funds for those boards that had not significant deficiencies, but deficiencies to address those to protect our data.
So boards would have an idea of like a prioritization of cybersecurity needs that these funds could definitely help address.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
The only comment I want to make is Courtney needs to be a little quicker.
Commissioner, I wasn't going to point that out, but since you brought it up, I'm kidding. We're not going to pursue that.
I was reading your mind, Chairman.
All right, is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we distributed 2.7 of WIOA statewide funding to the boards to support cybersecurity acceleration and or client services delivery as discussed by staff.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. We're unanimous. Thank you. This is agenda item 10, Resea State Plan 2022.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioner Alvarez, Commissioner Demerson, Mr. Cerna. For the record, my name is Dawn Cronin, and I have for your consideration this morning the Reemployment Services and Eligibility Assessment State Plan Update, or the RESEA State Plan for Program Year 2022. This plan provides our annual update for the RESEA program as required by DOL and has been required since 2020. The plan also serves as Texas application for the RESEA formula funds for the program year 2022 allotment. For Texas, it will be $16,860,815. This is roughly a $5 million increase over program year 2021. Texas program year 2022 state plan is due to the DOL, or Department of Labor, on or before March 7th of 2022. DOL guidance for this year's plan update encourages states to continue to grow their RESEA programs and encourages the state to continue increasing outreach for UI claimants, to establish reemployment services, as well as increasing the number of permanent state staff. And the additional funding will be used to do those two things. I'd like to highlight the changes for this year's plan over last year's plan. The funding, the updated funding request, last year's amount was a little over, it was like 11.7 million, a little under 12. Updates to the staffing, time and cost for conducting an RESEA appointment at the Workforce Solutions Office. This is a composite rate. Updated estimates for the total number of RESEA appointments to be scheduled. the total number of appointments to be completed, which includes the required RESEA services, and the number of claimants that will fail to report, which is roughly a little less than 25%. Updates on the actions that the state has taken to reduce the claimant failure rate, which include things like allowing the claimants to self-schedule appointments, automated reminders, and then structuring of notifications and other communications for readability. The updated information on the statutorily required evaluations for the RESEA program, as well as statements to address equitable outreach and service to underserved populations and communities, such as those in rural communities and underserved groups. Staff recommends the approval of the RESEA program year 2022 state plan update and commission or submission to the Department of Labor by or before March 7th. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Comments or questions?
None here, Chairman.
None here.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the PY 2022 RESEA grant state plan for submission to the Department of Labor.
Second.
We're unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have nothing under agenda item 11. We have nothing under agenda item 12. We have nothing under agenda item 13, agenda item 14, board nominations.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, and Mr. Cerna. For the record, Cherie Dudley with the Workforce Development Division. For your consideration this morning with, excuse me, we have workforce board nominations for Capital Area, South Texas, Lower Rio Grande Valley, and West Central Texas. Staff seeks guidance on the presented nominees, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Comments or questions?
None here, Chairman.
None here.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the board nominees for Capital Area, South Texas, Lower Rio Grande Valley, and West Central Texas.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We're unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing under agenda item 15, a legislative report. How about an executive director's report? None? Well, there
Nothing to
you go.
report.
Is there any other order of business come before the commission?
Chairman, if I may, I just wanted to introduce to everyone our new attorney that's working with us. Comes over from Ms. Miller's office. Greg Harper is joining our office. Today's his first day with us. I'd also like to recognize from the Coastal Bend Workforce Solutions Office, Ken Trevino is here with us today. I know they're here for the TOB, and Layla Melendez. So welcome to both of you.
I tell you what, that's dedication to task. When you sit through all the top meetings and then you come to a commission meeting, that's somebody who's really interested in workforce development.
They want that cybersecurity money, Chairman. I think.
Well, they got it. You know, it was some intense lobbying pressure I could see out in the crowd.
My only comment,
Bonus points.
in Courtney's defense, I think she moved up here pretty quick.
All right, all right,
Wow.
all right.
Maybe we can get on the next agenda,
See how fast.
some debate about that. All right. Anything else?
None here,
Is there a
Chairman.
motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Second the
Been
motion.
moved and seconded to adjourn. We are adjourned.